Today I'm going to be reading the book Ghosts by Jason Reynolds. Chapter 2, World Records for the Fastest Tryouts Ever. At first I watched through the gate. I was going to keep moving, but then I saw there were other people down closer to the track hanging out watching the practice like moms and stuff. So I joined them. Well, I didn't sit with them because they would have been weird. I grabbed a seat on one of the other benches. My school didn't have a track team, not that I would have tried out for it did. I was more in basketball. That was my sport, even though I had never really played. Sometimes on my walk home, I would stop at the court and see if I could get a pickup game, but no one would ever pick me, mainly because the old heads didn't like running with kids my age. But I always had this feeling that if I could get on, I'd be the next LeBron, but I never wanted to be whoever the most famous runner is. I never even thought about it. I looked in the world records book and it says some dude named Usain Bolt is the fastest. But I never heard of him. My dad never watched running on TV. Are there even any famous runners? Like, seriously, I never heard of none, but judging from the way these kids were stretching and jumping around the track, some of them probably had. Okay, let's get some high knees, the coach was commanding. He was short and bald, but I could tell that his baldy didn't come from all of his hair falling out. It was one of those guys who shaved it. Actually, he was one of those guys who shaved all of the hair on his face except his eyebrows, which wasn't a good look. He looked like a turtle with a chipped tooth, wearing a hoop earring and a black whistle around his neck. Up, up, up! There were boys and girls around my age, everybody dressed in shorts and t-shirts, holding their arms in front of them, doing a jump march kind of thing, slapping their knees on their hands. Come on, Sonny, it's only the second day of practice, and you're already slinking? The coach barked at the tallest boy out there. He was holding a clipboard and smacked it against his leg. Get him up! I sat with my feet spread apart so I could split the sunflower seed shells on the ground between them. The salt was making me so thirsty, but I just couldn't stop eating them. On the track, the high knee thing were followed by jumping jacks and some warm-up laps around the track, which seemed like a really bad idea to me. I mean, why would you run to warm up? You'd be tired before it's even time to race. Duh! Then all the runners gathered around the turtle-faced coach. Listen up, he said. If you're on this track, you have either already been part of the defenders or you have been recruited to be part of the defenders. He was talking to them like they had just joined the army or something. I'm sure you all know what this means, but in case you don't, it means that you are part of the best youth teams in the city. We are the people. The top high schools come for talent. And if we go to a good high school and do well in the track team, guess what? You might even get to go to college for free. Don't nobody go to college for free to run no races. I thought to myself, spitting a shell out. I hate when they get stuck to your tongue and you gotta do that spit flick thing. So annoying. A weird-looking kid. I can't really explain what it looked like. Well, let me try. You know how I said Mr. Charles looked like James Brown? If James Brown was white, well, this kid looked like the white boy if a white boy was black. Wait! That doesn't make sense. Let me start over. His skin was white like the color white, and his hair was light brown, but his face looked like a black person's, like God forgot to put the brown in him. Wait, is that like Mr. Charles or not? Forget it anyway, the boy raised his hand. Yes, Lou, the coach said. Is it true you're running the Olympics? The kid asked. Is it true that you didn't? The coach shot back, playing him out. The boy called Lou stood there like he just slapped in the face by one of Charlotte Lee's rubber ducks. Like he didn't know what to do. He stammered, not sure what to say. Don't worry about what I've done. Worry about what you want to do. If you stick with me, I can get you there. The coach whipped spit from the corners of his mouth. Now, he said, looking at the roll sheet, let's see what we can Let's see what we can do with you newbies. Lou, Patina, Sunny on the line. The three newbies hustled down to the other end of the track. Lou, your first 100-meter on the whistle, the coach directed. The weird-looking dude Lou, decked out in the flyest gear, fresh knit running shoes, and a full-body skin-tight suit. Like a superhero, he wore a headband and a gold chain around his neck, and a diamond glint in each ear. All the other runners stood off on the side as the coach put the whistles in his mouth. He held a stopwatch in his other hand. Ready, he said through his teeth. Then came the short squeak, beep, and Lou took off. It was quick. I mean, this kid was really fast, and when he got to the end of the straightaway, a woman was sitting on the bench on the other side of the track, jumped up and squealed and clapped like this dude was some kind of celebrity or something. I was impressed, not enough to clap. Really, I was just happy something unboring was finally happening, but definitely impressed enough to stop storing seeds in my mouth until it was done. Nice job, the coach said, as Lou tore back through the sight like a pro. Like this was no big deal, and he knew. He glanced over at me. I spit shells on the ground. The coach also called out a time and scribbled it down. But I didn't catch it. Next up was the big goofy-looking kid at the coach, called Sonny. He was the one getting yelled at when I first got there about not kicking his legs up high enough in the warm-up. To be honest, he didn't look like he could even walk in a straight line, so I figured this was going to be pretty funny. Sonny got in a position, closed his eyes, and took slow, deep breaths. Then the coach blew the whistle, and off he went. I could tell he was pushing as hard as he could, but he just wasn't going nowhere. Nowhere. It was like he was running onto the wind, even though it wasn't a windy day like his shoes weighed a ton or his bones were heavy or something. Nobody cheered for him, and a few of the other kids even laughed. We'll see who's laughing when we get to the mile, the coach barked at the sniggering runners. They all cut it out quick. Sonny looped back out over and joined the group, unfazed. He didn't even mind that he had run the slowest I had ever seen anyone run. His sprint was like a jog. My mother could have probably smoked him. Mr. Charles might have even burned him up, and he's like 1,000 years old. The coach gave Sonny a nod, and then turned to the next person, a girl next up, Patina. The Patina girl was tall and sprang up and down on her toes, rolling her neck and shoulders, I guess, to loosen up. Her hair was yanked back in a stubby ponytail with lots of frizz around the edges. When the coach blew the whistle, Patina broke out in a flash, zooming down the track definitely faster than Sonny, but not quite as fast as Lou. Still, I was impressed. I mean, I didn't know a whole bunch of girls who can run that fast. Actually, I don't really know a whole bunch of girls who run at all. They always been trying to be cute in school, but I ain't mad about that. Y'all vets better look out for this girl. She runs the 800 like it's a skip down the block. The coach said, giving Patina a high five. If anybody complimented me like I've been trying hard not to smile. Sorry about that. But would probably slip a little one in. But she's Patina, so just keep it cool and go back in the line like if it was nothing. I could tell she was no joke. After Lou, Sonny, and Patina ran, the coach told all the runners, the vets, to line up and show the newbies how it was done. So on and on it went, the whistle blowing one by one and girls on the line spreading down the straightaway. Each of the time being recorded. Some were faster than others. Actually, most of the vets were pretty fast, but nobody was faster than a pretty boy. Nobody ate, and the coach kept saying stuff like, Lou's still the one to beat, which was kind of pissing me off because I don't know, it just made me think about the kid Brandon at school who always picked on me. Not even just me, too. He picked on a lot of people and didn't nobody ever do nothing about it. They just said stupid stuff like, can't nobody beat him. Same kind of blowing ball head coach was kicking about this kid, Lou. It's just, he was fast, but honestly, he wasn't that fast. When everybody had taken a turn, the coach started over and gave everybody a chance to get in another, to go to see if they could beat their first time. So Lou was up for another go. He did the same chalky swagger over to the same line. Did a few stretches, some jump, and the lady on the other side of the track screamed again. The boy was just getting loose, and she was going off like he was doing something. The purple around her looked like her something, or like she was crazy, obviously. Annoyed, all of her teammates looked on. Some of them seemed to be bubbling with anticipation to see that mighty Lou ran again. Others that's probably how I looked. That's definitely how I felt over Lou, over Brandon, and over anybody else who thought they were unbeatable. Not to mention, I was all out of sunflower seeds, so I had nothing to hold me back from getting up and showing him that he really wasn't all that, and that I ain't never had a running lesson in my whole life, and I could keep up with him. If no one beat him, so I stepped over all the sunflower seed shells that had peeled up between my feet like a mountain of dead flies and walked not on the track, but just beside it on the grass. I lined up with Lou, who had now dropped into his on your mark stance. I didn't need to do all that. I just needed to roll my jeans up and tuck like laces in my high tops, and I was good to go. Coach Turtleface nodded me and called out, "Kid, what are you doing? Trials for last week." I didn't say nothing as the coach followed up with, "This is a private practice." I still didn't respond and just started scrunching the sleeves of my t-shirt up to my shoulders. "Did you hear me?" the coach now asked a little louder this time. He started walking towards me. The other kids were looking at me. Most kids did, like I was something else, like I wasn't one of them. But whatever. "Do you understand what private means?" the coach jeered. I thought of a funny comeback, but I kept it to myself. "Yeah, man, the track is for runners, not people who want to pretend like they're runners." Lou jabbed now. Standing straight, he looked me up and down, then flashed an arrogant grin. Just blew the whistle. I finally came back to the coach. He stopped on his tracks and glared. Then he looked at Lou before continuing in my direction. He pointed his clipboard at me. "Listen, you get one run. Hear me? After this, I don't want to see you around here no more," he threatened. "This is serious business. You understand?" I gave him the whatever face and nodded. He pointed his stupid clipboard at me like I was scared of that. "Please." Then as the coach headed back to the finish line, Lou shook his head at me and growled, "Hope you're ready to get smoked." This time I said, "Whatever," and gave him my best ice grill to make sure he knew he didn't scare me and he didn't. We were just running, not fighting, so why should I be frightened by some milk-faced running boy? Now back at the other end of the track, the coach yelled out, "On your mark!" Lou dropped down on all fours again. I just put my right foot forward. "Get set!" Lou put his butt in the air. I leaned in. Then, buddy! I wish I could tell you what I was thinking, but I can't. I probably wasn't thinking nothing, just moving. Man, were my legs going. I pumped and pushed, my ankle loose and wobbly in my sneakers, my jeans stiff and hot, the whole time seeing Lou out the corner of my eye like a white blur. And then it was over and everybody watching all of the other runners clapped and hooted, pointing at us both. Some had their mouths open. Others just looked confused. The lady on the other side of the track, not a peep, but all the people around her, were standing and cheering. Lou walked in circles with his hands on his head, trying to catch his breath, panting, whispering out, "Who won? Who won, Coach?" "I don't know, son. It was pretty close." The coach said it looked the words were sore in his mouth. I walked back over to my bench, grabbed my backpack, and to keep my part of the deal headed out, I made my point. And I wasn't like I wasn't to be part of the little club. I just needed everybody to know that the fancy white black boy wasn't all that. "Kid, I can hear Coach's footsteps coming behind me." I was still trying to get my heart to stop tripping and my lungs to start working again. "Kid, wait," he said, running up beside me. He was wearing those sweatpants. The swishy kind that made every step sound like paper crumpling. "Who you run for?" he asked. "What? Who did I run for? What kind of question was that?" "I run for me. Who else?" I replied and stopped walking. "No, I mean, what team?" "No team. I see." He glanced over at the track. "So then, who trained you?" "Somebody had to train you to be so fast." "Nobody. I just know how to run." "You just know how to run?" he repeated under his breath, followed up by yes, you do. Also breath talk. "Look, I don't know you. What's your name?" "Castle Crenshaw," I said, then quickly clarified, "but everybody calls me Ghost." By everybody I meant nobody except me. That was my self-giving nickname. Well, halfway self-given. The night me and Ma busted into Mr. Charles' store, Mr. Charles looked at us like he was looking at two ghosts, like he didn't recognize us, probably because of how scared we both must have looked. So I just started calling myself that. Plus, it wasn't the only time someone had looked at me that way. As a matter of fact, that man, the coach, was looking at me the exact same way as Mr. Charles did that night, stunned, and I couldn't tell if it was because my real name was Castle or because of my nickname. "Okay, Ghost, I'm Coach Brody. We did a proper handshake. Listen, like I said, I don't know you obviously, but I know you got something special. At least I think you do. So you want to join the Defenders and run with us?" I didn't even think about it. "Nope, just like that. Nope," judging by the look on Coach's face. I could tell nobody said no to running on his team ever. "What do you mean, nope? Why not?" All the other runners on the track were crackling jokes and playing around. Everybody but Lou. He was back on the line, down on his knees, like if he was getting ready to take off. "Because my sport is basketball, you play ball?" he asked. Like he didn't believe it, like I didn't look like I could hoop. "Yup, for who?" "Why you keep asking me who I do things for?" I snapped, mainly because I didn't play ball for nobody. "Not yet, at least, but I was still in my plans. Plus, who was he to be all in my business anyway? I could even know him, and he didn't know me. Look, even if I wanted to join your team," I continued, "I would have had to ask my mother first, and she's probably going to say no. So let me ask her," he cut in. "Why, you care? It's just running," I said. "Is that what you think?" Coach narrowed his eyes. "Then this is just running." Yeah. I mean, what else is there? Ready, set, go? Run? The end?" I said like a robot. Coach let out a hearty laugh. That kind of sounds like fake. Nobody really laughs that hard and that loud without bending over like it's hurts. "We'll get to that," Coach said, cutting his laugh off instantly like I said fake. "For now, let's focus on the task at hand. If your mom says it's cool, will you join Man, I told you I play ball. Coach sized me up, beating down on his bottom lip. Okay, I'll tell you what. Basketball's your sport. Cool. But if you want to be a better ball player, join a team, and you'll be the fastest and stronger than anyone on any court. Matter of fact, your legs will be so strong you'll be dunking on people by next year. You think I'm stupid? I looked at him sideways. Ain't no way I could be dunking in a year. I never heard of no 8th graders that can dunk. Depends on what you say next. You are if you don't let me ask your mom about joining. Coach was looking at me like he was dead serious. Like he really thought running could help my hops and get me dunking by next year. Which if that did happen, I would go down to the court with sicko and demand to play. I kept checking his face for a sigh. He was lying, a sigh that would have been easy to say because it didn't have any hair to disguise it. But there was no sign, no lie. Man, I'm telling you, she ain't gonna say yes. Good enough, Coach nodded, a sure smirk on his face. Practice is almost over. Might as well stay and I'll drop you off home. I'll talk to her then. Cool? Not cool, not really, I mean track. And who was that man? I've seen those weird shows where psycho poses like coaches and stuff, and you get caught up, and the next thing you know, my mother's in jail too for handling this dude. I didn't trust him, but on the other hand, I didn't really have anything else to do or nowhere else to be, so I figured it was worth scooping him and seeing him. He acted around all the other kids and their parents. I mean, I could always use the ride home, but I ain't no fool. After practice, we done everybody met up with the people waiting for him, family and friends, or whatever. Coach spent a lot of time talking to all the moms and dads, mostly moms, especially of the vets. They all acted like they really knew each other, like families, hugs, and all that, and that made me feel a little better after him, because moms don't trust nobody around their kids. So I agree on the ride. Coach and I walked to his car, which I was surprised to see was a cab. You stole a cab? I asked while he cleaned a bunch of stuff off his seat. Food bags, shoes, water bottles, sports drinks. The front of his car was a mess. He threw everything in the back. No, Coach said, brushing crumbs all on the floor so I could finally get in. What makes you think that? Because you're a coach, I said, holding my backpack in my lap. So how you get one? I coach because I love it. But I don't pay the rent. Being a cab driver does. He started the car. Then why would you love coaching? Seems like if I'm being a cabbie gets you paid, that should be what you love. I explained what seemed obvious, looking out the window. Coach barked out of his parking space. Wait, I said, you're not going to make me pay for this ride home, are you? Because if you are, you can just let me out and I can walk. Why would I make... Coach started, then stopped. Then he sighed. Just tell me where you live. Where I live? When anyone else asks where I live, I get weird because most people always treat you funny. And when they find out you stay in a certain kind of neighborhood, but I used to live with people treating me funny. When your clothes are 2 sizes too big and you get on no-name sneakers and your mother cuts your hair and it looks like your mother cuts your hair and you get used to people treating you funny. So what's one more person? Glass Manor? I said. You know where that's at. Coach didn't blink. Yeah, I know where that is. We didn't really say too much in the car, just zipped from one side of the neighborhood to the other, from the good side to the other. Said it was my first time ever in a cab. I was used to walking everywhere unless I was going somewhere with my mom. Then it was on the bus. Coach talked on the phone most of the trip, judging by what he was saying. What time he'd be home, checking to see if somebody named Tyrone had eaten yet, asking what was for dinner, made me think he was talking to his wife. I wonder what she looked like. Probably not too hot, since she married a woman who looked like a chopped tooth turtle. Coach was saying something about gym shoes to the maybe wife on the phone when I noticed a woman walking in the white scrubs, white sneakers, carrying a black leather purse bag enough to fit the whole world in it. And her hair was cute like a boy's. I trapped Coach on the arm and told him to pull the cap over. "Hold on," he said to the person on the phone, then to them. "What? Pulled over?" I repeat. "That's my mother." Coach pulled to the side of the street and I rolled down the window. "Ma," I called out, waving to her. She looked and looked again, trying to make sure I was who she thought it was. "Cass," she said, approaching the cab. "What are you doing in a cab? Matter of fact, what are you doing in the front seat of a cab?" No answer to the first question. "What are you doing in a cab?" "Hop in," I said. "No, you hop out," she replied. "Ma." "Ma'am," Coach leaned over so she could see him. "It's fine. Hop in. I'm just giving him a ride home." Then he nodded on the house. Coach swept everything on his back seat to one side as I reached back and opened the door. My mother stood outside the car for what seemed like minutes before deciding to climb in, and even after she did, she kept the door open, one foot still on the sidewalk. She could jump back out if she needed to. Her bag, which I knew was full of styrofoam containers of chicken and gravy, or whatever gross but free meals we were going to be having for dinner, crunched on the seats beside her as she finally pulled her legs and closed the door. "How was work?" I asked as Coach pulled back into the street. "Cass, don't how was work me? Why are you in a cab?" "And excuse me, sir, no offense, but what are you?" she asked. "Told you, moms don't trust nobody around their kids." Coach adjusted the rear view mirror so she could see my mother in the back. "I'm Coach Brody, but everybody calls me Coach. I run in the Defender City track team." Ugh. And your son came and sat in on my practice today. Coach threw a quick glance at me. "Did you know he could run?" Did I know he could run? She was sitting directly behind me, but I could still feel the heart of my eyes burning through the hardest, scratching the back of my neck. "Yeah," he said, "run. Like, really run." My mother just sort of grinned. I knew better than to say anything or even turn around and look back at her. I just said to Coach, "Make this left." When we got close to my street, Coach made the left and continued. And I think he's got potential with a proper coaching. He could be a serious problem. It felt like I had seen this in every single sports movie. I had even watched all of them. Ma'am, your son has potential. If he went like the movies, I was either going to score the game-winning touchdown, which is impossible in track, or die. "Sir, I appreciate that, but let me tell you something. 'Cause already is a serious problem," my mom explained. "And right now he needs to focus on school, not sports." "Right here," I murmured, to let Coach know where to stop and let us out. I figured there was no reason to drag the conversations out. It was exactly like I thought it would. So I wasn't really even mad about it. It was in his blinker out. It cuts his blinker out. Pulled over and put the car in park. "Listen," Coach turned around to look my mother in the face. "I totally got that. But what if I made you a deal?" He went on. "If he messes up in school one time, he's off the team." "One time," I squeaked. "One time." Coach held his hand out to my mother. I kept my eyes forward until I heard how exhaled the breath of a long day. "You're gonna get him home every day?" she asked. "Yes." "What about his homework?" "It'll be done." He sounded pretty confident for not even knowing me like that. Coach gave us both one of his cards. I put mine in my backpack, which Mom gazed at hers, making sure everything was legit. Then she let out another big sigh, this time probably the breath of a worried mom. Well, at least I know where he'll be after school, she gave in. And that was it. Just like that. For a time in my whole life, I was on the team. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed chapter 2 of Ghost. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.